Hello, you're listening to Radio Regent at radioregent.com. The name of this program is Radio Regent News and Views. This week we present a special edition of our show. Naama Weingarten, Talha Hashmani, and Masih will be examining the incredible events of recent days, a watershed historical moment in which mass protests have erupted north and south of the border in reaction to systematic police violence against people of color. We begin last Saturday at Toronto's Christie Pitts.
Hey, it's Talha here. Today we've got a special coverage for you over the ongoing protests across North America in response to the death of George Floyd and other black men and women. Just last Saturday, our team was on the ground in Toronto to witness the city's protest after the death of a 29-year-old Afro-Indigenous woman by the name of Regis Korchinski-Paquette. Now, it is still unclear on how Regis died, but the Special Investigations Unit is investigating possible misconduct and police involvement. For now, let's take you back to the scene of the protest that started out at Christie Pitts and made its way to the Toronto Police Headquarters.
What's up, Radio Regent? It's Naama Weingarten here. I normally host the politics segment, Politics Talk, but for today's show, I joined Talha and Masih to report about the recent protests that have been going on in the US and in Canada. This past Saturday, May 30th, thousands gathered in downtown Toronto to protest the death of Regis Korchinski-Paquette, a 29-year-old black woman who suspiciously fell off her balcony while police were responding to a domestic complaint in her building. After Regis's death on Wednesday, May 27th, members of her family initially said that police pushed her off the 24-story balcony, labeled the death as a suicide, and encouraged the media not to come. The following week, Regis's family clarified that they did not witness Regis being pushed off the balcony. However, they still believe that police intervention had to do with her death. In a news conference last Friday, Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders said that the family knows certain facts and one major important fact, that they called for police assistance and their daughter ended up dead. In the same news conference, Saunders said that there's so much he wishes he could say about the incident but can't, because it is currently under investigation by the province's police watchdogs. However, Saunders did clarify certain information about what happened the day Regis died. Saunders told reporters that officers received 3 separate 911 calls about the incident on Wednesday evening, and that 2 of them mentioned assaults involving knives. This evoked a heightened or Priority 1 response. So although some seizures were also discussed in at least one of the calls, since weapons were alleged to have been involved, a mental health crisis intervention team would not have been dispatched. The lawyer representing Regis's family said that when officers arrived on the scene, police spoke with Regis, her mother, and her brother in the hallway of the apartment building. Regis then asked to go inside her apartment and was followed in by several officers. The lawyer said that after a minute or two, the mother and brother heard Regis calling her mother for help. She fell off her balcony sometime later. Regis was an active member of her church, a talented gymnast, and proud of her Ukrainian and Nova Scotian roots. But in the past 5 years, she started experiencing seizures, with her family sometimes requiring help from police. There are still plenty of unanswered questions about Regis's death, and the incident sparked a major debate about the way Black people are treated by police in Toronto. A CBC News investigation actually found that Black people made up 36.5% of fatalities involving Toronto police, despite accounting for only 8.3% of the city's population in the period from 2000 to 2017. There's also a lot of anger over the fact that Regis's death wasn't documented by body cameras, and an online petition calling for transparency in the investigation of her death so far collected over 161,000 signatures. The Saturday following Regis's death, thousands rallied in downtown Toronto. The protest was organized by the group Not Another Black Life and was widely shared on social media under the hashtag Justice for Regis.
Regis's death came at a time when protests across the U.S. began to shape up over the murder of George Floyd by ex-officer Derek Chauvin on May 25th. That incident took place in the city of Minneapolis and was captured on camera showing Derek Chauvin with his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck for over 8 minutes, after which Mr. Floyd became unresponsive and passed away. Sadly, this is not uncommon. History is filled with countless cases of Black men and women losing their lives or their livelihood to police brutality and racially charged violence. Cases like that of Ahmaud Arbery, who just recently was shot and killed by 2 white men while out for a jog, or of Rodney King, who survived an act of police brutality after getting beaten up by a group of police officers in 1991, or of Tyrone Hines, who was pepper sprayed and verbally abused while handcuffed and in the back of a Toronto police cruiser, or of Lester Donaldson, who was shot and killed in 1988, also in Toronto, or of Andrew Luku, who was killed in 2015 by Toronto police officers simply because they feared the color of Mr. Luku's skin. But now with the murder of George Floyd in the United States, the race debate is once again reignited, and North America is at the epicenter for calls to change.
This is Masih K, and here's a play-by-play of the May 30th demonstration in downtown Toronto. Talha, Naama, and I were on the ground during the protest, and this is what I saw.
1, 2, 3, 4, this is fucking class war! 5, 6, 7, 8, overthrow the racist state! 5, 6, 7, 8, overthrow the racist state! Justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No justice, no peace! No racist police! No racist police! No racist police! No racist police!
The protest began at 2 p.m. at Christie Pitts Park. After the organizers give speeches, the march of thousands of people began. It was led by the family of Regis Korchinski-Paquette. Although the protest was part of the greater movement against police racism and brutality, justice for Regis and Black and Indigenous women was the theme throughout. Now, this protest occurred against a backdrop of 2 wider issues. One of them, perhaps the less relevant one, is the COVID-19 pandemic. The organizers of the protest highlighted the importance of health and safety in regards to limiting the spread of COVID. Everyone was instructed to wear masks, organizers passed out masks, and asked everyone to keep a safe social distance from one another. On at least 2 occasions, I saw people offer masks to others who didn't have one. The first time this happened, the first person without the mask refused it, saying he didn't believe in that stuff, but the kind protester insisted that it was necessary. The crowd did break social distancing protocol, but that is something very difficult to maintain for a march of thousands of people, so I don't exactly blame them. The second and more important wider issue related were the protests raging all over America, similarly against police brutality. This made the possibility of violence a concern throughout the demonstration. Police on bicycles, on foot, and in vehicles escorted the march through the city while protesters shouted "No justice, no peace, abolish police." Also on bicycles riding the perimeter were medics in support of the protests. Here's David, a medic I met at the start.
So there's about 12 of us, about over a dozen medics here. We're all here to help those whoever needs help. So.
All right. And do you think something's going to happen, that people are going to need help?
Hopefully not, but this is something we're doing as a precaution to make sure that in the event something does happen, we are prepared, and you don't have to reach out to the police or to paramedics if you don't feel comfortable with that, because we do have trained nurses here, trained nurses in ICU. We have people who volunteer as paramedics, so I'm quite confident in our ability that we can do the same.
Tensions were high as many protesters came to express their frustration towards the police, and many were not hesitant to do so. Before the march began, Police Chief Mark Saunders made an appearance. He was seen speaking to other officers when he was called out by the crowd and booed. He got into a black police Chevy which drove away. Chief Saunders, to the best of my knowledge, did not make another appearance at the march. The crowd made its way through the downtown core and arrived at Toronto Police Headquarters on College Street. Here, again, many protesters expressed their anger towards the police. While organizers made speeches and the crowd chanted once again, some protesters cussed at police. In fact, I witnessed people asking those cussing out police to stop, urging everyone to pay attention to the organizers. And after the organizers made their speeches, they announced that the march was over and asked people to kindly disperse. While many people complied, many other protesters swelled the fenced-off entrance of police headquarters, chanting and screaming at the officers. Many also asked for Police Chief Saunders to come out and speak. For a few hours, this continued, and the post-march protest seemed to reach a boiling point. Protesters were no longer marching and chanting, but directly demanding answers and justice from the officers guarding Police HQ. Protesters who were too rowdy, for example throwing water at police, were often shut down by other protesters, not the police. I witnessed people who seemed to be there more to harass cops than to fight for justice be asked to quiet down and let the people closest to the fence talk to the police. This support for black and colored people to demand justice was maintained by the crowd. At one point, it was actually encouraged for white protesters to back up onto the street so police don't open the road back up, and to allow for black protesters to demand justice from police. Demonstrators were having heated but important exchanges with one another, in addition to with police. I caught up with this guy right after he had a heated exchange with some other protesters.
Your name, what's your name?
My name is Meshach Davis.
All right.
I'm a true Israelite. My name comes from Hebrew. It's an Israelite name. You can look it up in the Old Testament. Go ahead with your question, man.
So what just happened right here over there?
So all day I've been preaching to people about how the reason why the system has not changed the black people because we ain't changing ourselves. And I had a whole bunch of black people, my own people, cussing me for doing that same shit. And then the family of the victims are saying the exact same stuff I was trying to preach all day. So I know what the truth is, and the family does. So that's what I was cussing about over there, because I'm not trying to change people's mentalities. We gotta change ourselves first. If you want to change for everybody else. It's as simple as that. And we're too ignorant and we're too comfortable with our positions. Why? Because this system has us comfortable, has us divided and comfortable. But I ain't chilling. I'm willing to sacrifice everything I want in my life to make a change. Everything.
As for the police, they did not dress up in riot gear or advance on the protest. Most of them just stood in formation, which did anger some protesters. Other officers approached the fence, where they tried to talk to the protesters. Although it was difficult to hear these heated exchanges between cops and protesters, the majority of both sides attempted verbal communication as opposed to violent advances. This continued, even when police tried to open up the street while this was all going on. A group of protesters sat on the road and refused to let police do so. Bicycle police came towards the group, who began chanting and approaching the officers back. The police remained calm, retreated back down the street, and let the protest continue. It was at this point that I started to believe I witnessed the best possible outcome of this protest, a peaceful one. It's important to note that this easily could not have been the case. The march was originally destined for Queen's Park, where a group of alt-right members were protesting. One white nationalist source confirmed that he was there, saying that if the police are smart, the two protest groups would not meet. Perhaps if the march did encounter members of the alt-right, more extremist elements would come to play, leading to violence. The march, however, rerouted to Police HQ, where both police and demonstrators acted as civilly as I possibly could have anticipated. According to a Toronto Police Twitter update, the demonstration ended and the road was opened once again at around 11 p.m.
While we were at the Justice for Regis protest, we got to listen to the speeches and speak with the protesters who rallied for the cause. Here is some of what they had to say.
What do you want to see for Regis? Do you want to see a deeper investigation? Do you want to see the identities of the officers who did it and arrest?
All of the above. Of course, I want to see arrests for the officers and justice for Regis.
I'm here for peace. I want to fight for my people. I want to fight for my brothers and sisters that are being murdered, my future children, my future grandchildren. I don't want them to live in a world where they're not wanted and not cared for.
Well, I mean, I come here as an ally, as an accomplice, first and foremost, and I think it's almost kind of like common sense. I mean, this is injustice. There's really no excuse for people to be silent about anything that has been going on right now, especially what is happening now has been happening for eons and for years, and that needs to be said, and that has to be clear in people's minds. And that's why I'm here, as in support, and to obviously make change. Something needs to happen immediately, and now is the time.
I'm here for my brothers and sisters, for myself, for my friends who are gonna have kids that are black too. I'm here for Regis. I'm here for everyone that's died from gun violence, from everything, like from police killing people, from all this shit. I'm here just because awareness alone is just not enough. Like, we need to do something, and it's not gonna happen just like that. Like, how long is this gonna go on? This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and I'm pissed off for my people. I'm pissed off for myself, and it's enough is enough.
Yes. And as for Regis specifically, what do you guys want? Do you guys want a deeper investigation?
Hell yeah.
Do you guys want to see the officers' identities coming out?
Hell yeah. I want to see everything. Like, the same way that they incriminate us is the same way they should be incriminated back. Like, straight up. They killed that girl.
I think this is also, it's systemically, this is systematic racism. First and foremost, this is not new. It's been happening again and again. Regis is one of the casualties, unfortunately, but it has happened time to time, and it's sad, and it's almost like they're kind of playing it in our faces that like this is gonna happen again and again, and look what is happening again and again. It's frustrating.
I'm here because of the injustice that black people, and this will show that this is not just something that's supposed to be reckoned with. We got to do the right thing when we're out there as police officers. We got to do the right thing. We can't just kill people because we hate them or we are racist.
I came here to spread a message to my people. I didn't just come for one person. That's where we get it wrong, man. We always come when one of us is down. Man, black people get down every single day. Every single day, there's problems with black people. And I came here to spread a message that, brothers, we gotta stop looking at each other like the enemy. We gotta stop bringing back love for each other and actually fight the ones who are actually against us, which is the elitists, the people who control these same people, not the police. The police are also being controlled. They're not the ones controlling the world. They didn't make this system. The white elitists did. And I'm here to spread that message that we gotta change our mentality so we can love one another and come together to really make a change. Simple as that.
What does justice for Regis look like to you? What do you want to see?
You know what? Hold on. Honestly, I said I came here for everybody. I didn't come here for one purpose, because I'm not selfish, you see? I'm not selfish. I came here for all of my people, to acknowledge all of them. Not to acknowledge one of them. All of my brothers are suffering, man. All my died last year. Ain't none of my here. And you know who was killing them? Who did they die from? Not the police. Themselves. Because they ain't got no love. So I'm trying to bring love back from our brothers. When we got love for ourselves, we're going to have love for everybody. And that's how we're going to change this.
After the official protests technically ended, a lot of people remained in front of the Toronto Police Headquarters and continued rallying. As evening dawned, police officers wanted to reopen the road and told protesters to move aside. Many did, but some didn't. Then, as cars were waiting in line, a man sat down and blocked the road. Some joined him. From there, police called for backup as people continued to block the road against their wishes. All of the cars that were lined up, waiting for the road to open, eventually made a U-turn and left. I caught up to the man who initially sat down on the road and spoke with him about what happened. Here's some of what he had to say.
Essentially, the people there are standing right now, they're having a little bit of dispute because they want to stay in the road and hold the street because they see it as like a sign of like resistance.
Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, follow us on all our social media platforms. And don't forget to visit our website, as well as comment down below what you thought about this video.